Okay, so I looked through a bunch of job listings the other day for leaders in the C-suite, and I identified the top 6 skills that you will need to develop if you want to reach these prestigious CEO leadership positions one day. So if it is one of your aims in your career to reach that high-level position, to become a CEO, to become a C-suite leader, then I encourage you to learn what these skills are, because the sooner you start developing these skills, the sooner you start to actually show other people you have these skills, then the sooner you will be eligible for those C-suite positions. Familiarity with different business functions is a really important skill that C-suite leaders should have. This is something that I have mentioned in 1 or 2 of my other YouTube videos. Basically, it's where you understand what the different departments do in an organization. You have that bird's eye view and overall understanding of what each department does. You know what they do, you know how they work, and you know how they link to the overall organizational goals. Having this bird's eye view, this overall view of a company is critical for any C-suite leader, because when you're in the C-suite, you're actually making decisions for the entire company, not just for a team, not just for a department. You're making decisions for the entire company. So you really need this bird's eye view to understand how your decision is going to impact each department in that company and how it's going to impact each team and eventually down to each individual as well. The problem a lot of people have, though, if you are not yet in the C-suite, is how do you get this information? How do you develop this knowledge? Especially if you're entry level or mid-level in your career. What you need to do is you need to start having conversations with people in other departments, not at the C-suite level, but at your level. So meet with your colleagues in other departments, really get to know and understand what they do in their job. What are they responsible for? What are the goals that they are working towards? And then go back and think to yourself, how do those goals or those responsibilities that that person has, how do they link to the overall organizational goals? And this is one of the most important things you need to understand, how that person's job links to the overall organizational goals. This is something that you'll probably have to figure out on your own. Most cases, the other person won't be able to tell you how their job or how their responsibilities link to the overall organizational goals, because most people don't think about this. They go about their job in a very compartmentalized way. They forget that they're part of the bigger picture, and that's okay. But if you aim to be in the C-suite, then this is the type of thinking that you need to start to develop. Talking with your colleagues in other departments is also helping you build a really important skill for the C-suite, and that is the ability to build relationships with people, or the ability to mingle with people, those you have met before or those you have never met before. And this includes being able to talk to people, being able to get them to feel comfortable with you and comfortable enough with you to reveal certain information that you are looking for. Why is this so important for C-suite leaders? Well, because when you're in the C-suite, you will be required to talk with many people and many different kinds of people as well. You will need to talk with people inside your company. So think of department heads, team heads, and individual employees. All of these people you will need to speak with at one time or another to get information from them to help you make better decisions. You will also need to speak with people outside of your company. So for this, think of external investors that you need to give information to or update information to. Think of donors you want some money from, or think of government officials that you need to get various information from or understand the laws of how you are operating. So all of these kinds of people you will need to speak with in the C-suite. Therefore, you will need to learn the skills in order to do that well. So I encourage you to start developing your relationship building skill. Now, this is something that has not changed in generations, except of course the way we may initiate contact with somebody. In the professional world, this is quite often done via LinkedIn or via email nowadays. But the core of relationship building, it really hasn't changed. So the book that I recommend you to read is Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. This book has been around for such a long time. So many leaders and very successful leaders have read this book and recommended and refer to it even today. So I highly recommend that you pick up a copy if you have not yet read this book. I will put a link in the description below to an Amazon page where you can find and buy this book if you want to check it out. Now, the next skill I'm going to talk about is one that is much harder for you to develop if you are not yet in a leadership position, and that is the ability to define define and to drive strategic growth. First, this requires you to come up with a strategic direction or to contribute your thoughts in creating that strategic direction. And then it requires you to be able to push people toward that direction or to push initiatives toward that direction as well. Coming up with a strategic direction should be based on the company's vision. A vision is something that the company wants to achieve. The vision should be clear and specific enough to guide decision making as well. Apple, for example, has the vision of bringing the best user experience to customers through innovative hardware, software, and services. Qantas Airlines has the vision to be the most respected airline brand in the world, supported by the core values of safety, teamwork, excellence, and customer focus. I encourage you to learn what your company's vision is. This is something that you probably should have learned when you're actually interviewing for your job. You may be already familiar with it, but you may not be familiar with it. If you don't know what your company's vision is, then check out their website. Quite often, this information is available publicly on the website. If not, check out any kind of documentation, welcome documentation you got when you first started working for that company, because this will quite often include some information about what the company's values are, what their mission is, what their goals are. This is the type of thing that you will need to understand. So going back to the core skill that you need for a prestigious C-suite position, which is the ability to define and drive strategic growth. Once you have your vision, you can then move on and do this. You can develop a plan for that vision, a roadmap, for example, of how you are going to get to that vision. What do you need to do in order to achieve that goal? And then once you have that roadmap, then you can get to work understanding how you're going to push initiatives and how you're going to push people to achieve that vision. So this is some homework that you need to do as a C-suite leader to really understand what that vision is, how you're going to get there, what you need to do in order to achieve that vision, and then how you're going to get other people to move toward that vision as well. This is really what developing a strategic direction is about. So to sum it up, when you're a C-suite leader, you need to follow this process of vision, plan, action. That is really what's going to give you the strategic direction that you need to develop, the skill you need to develop to be in the C-suite. There is another skill that will often separate people who make it into the C-suite from people who don't, and that is the ability to make bold decisions. This is a really tough skill to have. I admit some people are actually born with this ability. They will make any kind of decision, big or small, really quickly. They do it so effortlessly, it just doesn't seem like a big deal to them at all. And then there are another group of people, and I think this is the majority, where making big decisions is really difficult. It can be really tough. Sometimes even making small decisions can be really tough. You might let fear overtake you from making that decision, and sometimes you just don't make any decision at all. I've actually mentioned in one of my other YouTube videos that for me, making decisions can be really tough. I spend way too much time thinking about the consequences of the decision that I'm about to make, the positive consequences, the negative consequences. I spend way too much time thinking of those things that it prevents me from making any decision at all. In most cases, I worry about things like the financial fear I have of the decision that I'm about to make. I have fear of the unknown. I have fear of moving out of my comfort zone and of doing something new. All of these fears can prevent me and may even prevent you as well from making any decisions at all. If this is something that you can relate to, then let me know in the comments below. But C-suite leaders don't seem to have this difficulty. Quite often they can make decisions, bold decisions, really easily, just like those people who have this natural born ability to make any decision at all. So this is a skill that you definitely need to work on, and something that I have done to help me work through making better decisions, making quicker decisions, making bolder decisions, is to start to understand what's holding me back from making a decision in the first place. What am I scared of? What am I afraid of? And try and identify the specific thing that is stopping me from making that decision. So this is a method that I've used for many decisions I've had to make in my life. It has helped me to make those decisions faster and to make better decisions as well. So this is a method that has worked for me, and it may work for you as well. Now, I couldn't finish this video without talking about communication skills. Yes, I know I talk about communication so much on this channel, but the reason I do is because communication is so important in leadership. You will not reach a leadership position if you don't have good communication skills. Communication skills and good communication skills, or even great communication skills, is essential if you want to make it into a leadership position, and especially if you want to make it into the C-suite. You need to have paramount leadership skills. You need to have ambassador level communication skills. I think I just said leadership skills for that previous one, paramount leadership skills. I actually meant paramount communication skills. So going back to this ambassador level communication. So think of what ambassadors do in their job. They spend a lot of time communicating. They communicate with different types of people. They communicate with government officials in their country or in the country they are based in. They need to communicate via conferences. They need to present at conferences. They need to communicate at banquets and talk one-on-one with various officials or very important people in different countries. They even need to communicate via the media. So quite often they might need to do television interviews or radio interviews and communicate publicly that way. So ambassadors, they are communicating all of the time. They need very high-level communication skills. They need to be able to articulate their thoughts really well. They need to have precision when they speak. They need to talk about facts and figures very accurately because their job really depends on them being correct. Most of the time, though, these ambassadors, they have been trained in communication skills. They've taken courses, they've had coaches. However they have done it, they have trained themselves or somebody has trained them to have good communication skills. You will never find an ambassador who is too shy to give you tough news, or he's too confused to give you the facts straight. Similarly, you won't find a C-suite leader who is like this either. In scouring the job ads for the CEO or the C-suite positions, I came across a number of keywords that revealed what these employers were looking for in their C-suite leaders. And when it came to communication, they were quite often looking for persuasive and passionate communicators. This was really important to them. They were also looking for people who had exceptional proficiency in the written, in verbal, and in public communication as well. So these, to give you an example, these are the types of skills, specific communication skills that you will be required to develop if you want to reach the C-suite one day. I do have a couple of videos on my channel that will help you in this direction of developing your communication skills. So this one up here is about how to master C-suite communication skills, and this one up here will help you to be in command of your voice. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you got a lot of value from it. If you want to check out the other resources that I have and continue to learn with me, then look at my newsletter, which is linked below, my podcast, also linked below, and my Udemy courses as well. They are all linked below too. These resources will help you to continue learning, developing your skill, developing your leadership skill as well. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next in another video.